Even as Elon Musk and Sam Altman battle it out in court. My next guest says the real threat from OpenAI, whether it's a tax-exempt or for-profit entity, isn't just to other artificial intelligence companies. It could be a huge threat to the world's biggest smartphone maker. Former Apple CEO John Sculley says that for the first time in decades, Apple's dominance is facing a serious threat, and it comes from OpenAI. John Sculley joins us now in a Fox Business exclusive. And of course, you saw the news, John, today that OpenAI might be collabing with Qualcomm, which makes smartphone chips. They're among the best in the business at doing that, to create some type of next form of whatever we use to communicate via smartphone. Why are you so concerned about OpenAI?
Well, first of all, I think Apple is a great company. It's got momentum. Tim Cook did a spectacular job as CEO, and the incoming CEO, John Ternus, looks incredibly qualified to be the next leader. So from that standpoint, Apple's in a very good position. But in terms of the high-tech world, where things change, and it's almost like a weather system sometimes, or even an earthquake sometimes, depending on how it all goes. But we're about to enter from both companies, from OpenAI and Apple. Apple reportedly is going to be introducing a product called the AI pin. Now, this is a device, apparently, that could be a wearable. It's one that may have a camera in it. It won't have a screen. And it's going to be able to have what's called ambient awareness, meaning it's always on. It's listening, and you get it through an ear pod. And that would be an entirely new user experience for people in the Apple ecosystem. Now, Apple wants to extend its ecosystem with the iPhone. On the other hand, Johnny Ive, remember, Steve Jobs created the vision, but Johnny Ive created all of the most successful products that Apple had during the return of Steve Jobs. And so Johnny Ives has been working as a key talent inside of OpenAI directly for Sam Altman, and he's apparently working on a device which is also about ambient awareness. And it's also about apparently a device which can be a wearable, and you listen with a AirPod, and you can do a lot of things with it. So the question is, you've got Apple and OpenAI. Apple wanting to extend its iPhone leadership. OpenAI trying to start a new page that says, wait a minute, you don't need apps all the time. We now have AI. AI can do tasks. And so the idea that the big library that Apple has with its apps, which is terrific, everyone loves the Apple experience with its apps. But now here comes Johnny Ive with a new way of thinking, that you use AI to give people any tasks they want, and you tie it into this ambient device. And so we'll just have to see, where does it all go? You got two giants competing against each other.
Can you kind of visualize for us or explain what an ambient device would look like? You mentioned a pin. We just saw Lenovo come out on stage at CES, and they had a necklace, a little necklace with a pendant on it that could hear and take videos, et cetera, and can do things once you tell it to. But what do you mean ambient device? What have you heard? Anything? What would it look like?
Well, we're all speculating. Remember, I've not seen Apple's device. I've not seen Johnny Ive's device. Though I know Apple well, and I know Johnny Ive and his talent well. So I said, you've got two incredibly great leaders, a new CEO coming in who's a product guy, product engineer. So I expect that they're going to be taking very different ways of interpreting it in terms of a product. Ambient means the ability to listen, the power of listening and the power of being able to interpret things. And that's an experience we haven't yet seen taken into a product experience the way apparently Apple wants to do with its AI pin, and what we think Johnny Ive wants to do at OpenAI. So I can't tell you exactly what the products will look like, but I think they'll have a camera. I think they'll have a listening experience. I think they'll be able to take advantage of AI. In the case of OpenAI, it's going to be doing tasks. We know it's going to get better and better at being able to do tasks for you, eventually agents. And in the case of Apple, They're just going to be obviously trying to figure out how do they take AI, but their AI is not going over the internet. All of Apple's AI, they've said, is going to be going back into its device. Devices are really like supercomputers. So it's to be seen how each of these companies translate that into an experience that presumably consumers are going to want to try, and some are going to become loyal to one version and some are going to become loyal to another. So that's all to be seen. But it comes at a time that this is the biggest thing I think that's happened since Tim Cook took over from Steve Jobs 15 years ago.
Well, John Ternus is coming in. We've got to run, but I'd like to know, if you were there, what is the number one thing, if you were in John Ternus's position, that you would do to make sure that Apple wins this race?
Well, from Apple's standpoint, is to stay true to the values Apple has been so successful at. Beautiful products, no compromises, no compromise on the experience. And if you're OpenAI, you know you have to take advantage of Johnny Ive's talent, and you've got to take advantage of the internet. Remember, Apple's not focused on the internet, they're focused on the data from their device. And so we'll just have to see which things consumers like in terms of usefulness and experience better. The Johnny Ive approach or the Apple approach.
I can't wait to see both of them. John, thank you so much.
They'll probably both be good, by the way. I don't think there's a loser in this. I just think there's a it's a journey that's going down maybe a split road.
Yeah, the ecosystem of Apple, though, very, very alluring and sticky. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for coming back on.
Thank you, Liz.